Now, state and local authorities are trying new methods to urge parents to vaccinate their kids. KTLA's Steve Koosh live in Hollywood. Steve.
Years ago, my good Sheer, the measles was virtually eradicated from the United States. But now, with more and more parents choosing not to vaccinate their kids, the measles has made a strong comeback.
The measles outbreak in West Texas is growing. Within the last hour, the Texas Department of State Health Services shared updated case numbers. The total of cases now stands at 223. That is up from 198 since last Friday. This is the largest measles outbreak in decades, and it could go on for a while, maybe months.
Where am I? Grandpa? What are you doing here?
Chris, welcome to the Skull and Bones Society. This is where the most powerful men in the world are groomed for their futures. Every president, every CEO, every douchebag named Ryan Seacrest. The Skull and Bones Society has been a part of my family for decades, and we want you to become a member.
Really? Wow, cool!
Excellent. You get your own stock portfolio, a percentage of the 9/11 Victims Fund, and the best medical care. You'll be kept as healthy as a horse.
You probably know William Shakespeare, the poet, the playwright, and actor, and, well, among the greatest writers in the history of the English language. But William Shakespeare is also the name of one of the first people in the entire world to get the approved vaccine for COVID-19. 81-year-old William Shakespeare was the second person in the UK's vaccination program to receive a shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. You see him right there. This Shakespeare is from Warwickshire, the county that was the birthplace of the Shakespeare born in the 16th century.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Hello, I'm Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft. In this video, you're going to see the future.
The measles outbreak in New Mexico continues to grow. The state health department has confirmed 3 new cases, including one in Eddy County, the first one outside of Lee County. That brings the total to 33. Most cases involve unvaccinated people. The DOH says since February 1st, nearly 9,000 New Mexicans have received the measles vaccine. That's up from around 3,600 in the same time period last year. New Mexico Senator Ben Ray Lujan and 11 other Democrats are calling on the federal Health and Human Services Secretary to increase vaccination efforts.
In fact, the testing could have been ramped up very quickly in a few countries that have almost avoided the epidemic entirely, like Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia.
Peak hour in Australia's second largest city. Public transport, normally filled with workers, is now near empty. Tough measures, including an overnight curfew, are in place to slow the spread of COVID-19 as the number of new daily cases remains in the triple digits, and the government is doing everything in its power to make sure people stay in their homes unless it's absolutely necessary. Tough fines have been introduced for anyone breaching isolation.
Apart from emergency medical care, there is literally no reason for you to leave your home. And if you were to leave your home and not be found there, you will have a very difficult time convincing Victoria Police that you had a lawful reason.
The government says nearly a third of people with COVID-19 who were visited by authorities weren't at home, which has been leading to community transmission. Now, rules have been tightened. People can't step out of their homes. The only exemption, health reasons. Hundreds of military personnel are being deployed to help Victorian police enforce the isolation orders, some of the toughest restrictions on the movement of people Australia has ever seen.
You know, they took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. If your child had a cough, she'd get just what the doctor orders.
You know what? I make a lot more money if I take this kid's tonsils out.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
If there's a blue pill and a red pill, and the blue pill is half the price of the red pill and works just as well, why not pay half price?
Once eradicated in the United States, measles is making a comeback. Cases have been reported in at least 17 states, including Louisiana. Fox 44's Christina Jensen speaks with one local doctor about why the disease may be spreading.
Medical Moment, sponsored by Care South Medical and Dental.
We're only 4 months into 2024 and the U.S. has now tallied more cases of measles this year than were reported in all of 2023. The CDC's count now stands at 64 cases, surpassing the 2023 total case count of 58.
Measles is a pretty contagious virus, actually one of the most contagious infections that exist.
Highly infectious, says pediatric infectious disease physician Michael Bolton from Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital.
Common symptoms are cough, you get red eyes that sometimes drain, and you get sort of a runny nose and congestion. You'll then also get a rash that usually starts at your hairline and works its way down.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
Maybe you're better off not having the surgery, but taking the painkiller.
How's the ice cream, kids?
Great!
Who's ready for a kitten?
I am! Make mine calico!
Here you go.
This whole morning has been wonderful. Too wonderful.
You're right. This is it. They're selling us to be crash test dummies.
Oh, please let it be Volvo.
Oh, you children are too suspicious. It's go time.
Any other gadgets you've gotten installed here since you came?
Well, everyone thinks that this is very ominous right here. See this? These are phones. These are very secure phones. But this is a very ominous looking because of the red button.
What does that get you when you
Well,
press
it gets
the
you a
red button?
Coke or it gets you a Pepsi. One or the other. It'd have to be. But it gets you something. In fact, I have fun with people. They'll be sitting down. Every time I press that, people...
It's shot day!
Welcome to hell, Mann Avenue Medical Plaza. Children, you should be grateful you live in a country where childhood diseases have been practically...
Karate!
Ow! Ow! Oh.
Bart, that hobo skeleton is not a toy.
But measles is a child's disease.
I can't understand.
Yes, it is a child's disease, Abner. But to the Hawaiians, who have developed no resistance at all, it is a deadly pestilence. The sailor who brought it ashore is bound to have infected dozens of others, besides Micah. Within 3 days, this disease will sweep through Lahaina like a raging plague. Their fevers will go unbelievably high. Their deaths are agonizing beyond all imagination. Our children will come through in good shape. And we can save a fair percentage of the Hawaiian children if we can separate them from their parents. The adults are another story. 1 month from the day, 1/3 of our population will be dead. 1 out of 4 of the survivors will develop consumption. 1 out of 7 will be deaf. 1 out of 12 will be blind.
There are pockets and significant pockets of the country where vaccines aren't happening because of those, you know, the anti-vaxxers or whatever you want to call them, who have made significant headway in trying to convince parents they shouldn't vaccinate children. I was just looking at new data today from Orange County, California, with more than a few schools showing between 40 and 60% children not vaccinated.
You could say this is we're a victim of success. In the countries where you have measles all the time, nobody gets confused about this.
Do you get mad about it?
I get more mad about the deaths we're not avoiding. I spend my time on the countries where you still have, in the case of measles, over 300,000 kids dying a year. In the case of diarrheal diseases, over 1 million a year. There's 6 million kids a year still dying. Why aren't we getting vaccines out in Africa for diarrhea, for respiratory disease? Why don't we yet have a vaccine for malaria? Those are the things that I push forward. I wouldn't say I get angry, but I'm really impatient that we're not moving as fast as I'd like.
There's nothing you could have done for him. Captain Cook discovered these islands 50 years ago, they were a true paradise. Infectious disease was unknown. They didn't even catch cold. And there were 400,000 of them. Now there are less than 150,000. You and I may well live to see the last Hawaiian lowered into his grave.
This is ridiculous. Only babies and ex-junkies are afraid of needles. Stick me, chuckles. Can I have a lollipop?
Well, that just leaves Bart. Don't forget Maggie. Oh, I got her when your heads were turned. Got her good. Now, Bart, just look out the window. It'll take your mind off the pain. And when you're done, I've got more lollies.
Prior to my arrival, I just would like to get my time back. The nominee wrote a book saying that people had been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. He's trying now to play down his role in Samoa. That's not what the parents say. That's not what Governor Green says. It's time to make sure that we blow the whistle on actually what your views are. At least we're starting. We need to move
Senator,
on.
I support the measles vaccine. I support the polio vaccine. I will do nothing as HHS secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking either of those
Anybody
vaccines.
who believes that ought to look at the measles book you wrote saying parents have been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. That's not true.
No, thanks. I already helped myself. See you later, inoculator.
Measles medicine to be administered once an hour.
Actually, I'm not sure it is measles.
How can it be anything other? The chalky white faces, the livid spots, the temperatures of 120 degrees. I've seen it time and again. Measles. Definitely. Open.
He can run, but nobody escapes the needle. Darlene, cancel all my appointments.
But I need that kidney now.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you one way or another. I'm gonna get you. Get you one way or another. I'm gonna see you. I wanna meet you one day. Maybe next week. I'm gonna meet you. I'll meet you.
Black on black violence must end. That was for Dr. King.
Simon, don't. I'm not taking that.
Then you will not get any better. Believe me.
It's moving!
Open wide.
Don't feel bad, Doc. I won't even let my mom clip my toenails.
I guess you're just too smart for me, Bart.
What?
Huh?
Thanks, Barney. Mo, we won't need you now.
Okay, well, I really enjoyed being you, Dr. Hibbert. Oh, by the way, you're not welcome in the library no more. I'm sorry.
Wider.
Son, spit it out!
You'll have to swallow it sooner or later, so I suggest you get it over with. Very good.
Now that wasn't so bad, was it, Bart? You know, sometimes the fear of...
Whoa, something's wrong. I can't hear!
Doctor, perform a diagnosis.
I'm afraid the inoculation has swollen his ear hole shut. Maybe this would be a good time to talk about side effects. The boy's hearing should clear up in a day. If it doesn't, call me in the Bahamas.
The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments today about legal protections for vaccine manufacturers. The issue today was whether vaccine makers should continue to be shielded from most lawsuits for damages. The arguments involved 18-year-old Hannah Brisowitz of Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Her parents blame her neurological problems on a childhood vaccine. They want to sue Wyeth Labs, which now owns the company that made the medicine. The National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, passed by Congress in 1986, established a no-fault system of compensation in such cases. The law set up a special vaccine court to confirm injuries and to award damages accordingly. The goal was to shield drug companies from repeated lawsuits and thereby guarantee steady supplies of vaccine. In recent years, hundreds of lawsuits have charged a link between childhood vaccines and autism. That means the case argued at the Supreme Court today could have far-reaching implications.
For now, he can express himself with this complimentary pen. Cool. Oh, it's a good pen. Try it out. That was a malpractice waiver, fool.
Let's talk about COVID, because Operation Warp Speed is one of the positives from the administration, and you've brought up the need for vaccines. You've actually told people to get vaccines. I'm just curious. I got the Pfizer vaccine. Which vaccine did you get? Have you shared that with us yet?
Well, I got the Pfizer, and I would have been very happy with any of them. I thought a very bad statement was when they did a pause on Johnson & Johnson. I think that frightened people. That was a bad thing to do. At that time, when they did the pause, they had 6 people that may have had some difficulty out of millions that received it, but I think the pause was a very bad thing to do.
All policy making is a decision, and good health policy decision making should assume that you know what happens, or you have a good idea of what will happen if I choose policy A or I choose policy B. So Fred, measles specifically can show you the impact of loss of vaccination protection and can show you the potential benefit of decreasing vaccine exemptions for children in school before you have to make that decision. The idea was to try to demonstrate how important herd immunity is in a visually useful way where people could see what would happen in their own communities if they had lost certain vaccination protection.
They're all covered with filthy germs, aren't they, Smithers?
Why, what do you mean, sir?
Freemasons run the country!
Now, you're saying even in those states, the same kind of shutdown needs to occur?
Well, let's say you have 100 cases, and let's say you don't do a shutdown, then it grows 33% per day. So you take 100, you get 1,000, you get 10,000. It's exponential growth if you're not stopping it.
Finally tonight, some good news in what has been a very troubling story. An American doctor who contracted Ebola in West Africa was discharged from an Atlanta hospital today. He and the hospital staff spoke to reporters after his release. A smiling Dr. Kent Brantley was greeted by applause inside Atlanta's Emory University Hospital, where doctors today announced the 33-year-old had made a full recovery after being infected with the Ebola virus while working in a hospital in Liberia.
Today is a miraculous day. I'm thrilled to be alive, to be well, and to be reunited with my family.
The trouble with being a little kid is no one ever asks your opinion about anything.
Why don't you stop talking and just go to bed?
Are you asking for my opinion?
What are you writing, Rerun?
This is how I have it figured. If there are 3 kids in a family, each kid has 33 1/3 rights.
Wrong, little brother. It's 90% for me, and 5% for you, and 5% for you.
I better check those figures again.
We're a family, and in a family, each person has a job. Here, write down what you think your job could be.
How do you spell watching?
Watching?
That'll be my job, watching TV.
Remember, Rerun, having an older sister is like having a compass to guide you through life.
Let me tell you a true story about immunization, okay? When I was a little boy in New York City in the 1940s, we swam in the Hudson River, and it was filled with raw sewage, okay? We swam in raw sewage. you know, to cool off. And at that time, the big fear was polio. Thousands of kids died from polio every year. But you know something? In my neighborhood, no one ever got polio. No one, ever. You know why? Because we swam in raw sewage.
Is that true? I'm not here.
How can I be expected to live in the same house with two brothers?
I got pool problems, Jerry. What happened? Well, I had been swimming for 3 hours, and I was in a real groove, so I decided to keep going. But at 10, they start the aqua size. 35 geriatrics throwing elbows. It's like I was swimming through a flabby-armed spanking machine.
Well, how long did that last?
Half hour. Then diving class started. Well, that got a little messy. I gotta find a new place to swim. Because that pool can't hold me, Jerry.
Over there, that's Brooklyn. That's where Spike Lee lives.
Hey, there's a man swimming in the water.
No, that's probably just a dead body, son. You see, when the mob kills someone, they throw the body in the river.
Jerry! Hey, buddy. Hey. Well, my swimming pool problems are solved. I just found myself miles and miles of open lanes.
What does that smell?
That's East River.
You're swimming in the East River? Yeah. The most heavily trafficked, overly contaminated waterway on the eastern seaboard?
Well, technically, Norfolk has more gross tonnage.
How could you swim in that water?
I saw a couple of other guys out there.
Swimming?
Well, floating. They weren't moving much, but they were out there.
So Kramer completely funked up my mattress.
Does it smell like the East River?
Yes, it does. How did you know?
Because Kramer's been swimming laps between the Queensboro Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge.
If you're the third child in a family, and your brother and sister are really weird, I wonder if it's possible for that third child to develop an immunity. An immunity to all the bad things that happen in a family. To that innocent third child who might. So much for immunity.
Oh, great!
Man, I'm on the wrong floor again.
Hey! Thanks for ruining my mattress. It reeks.
You know what I think it is? I think it's that East River. I think it might be polluted.
Kramer.
Hey.
Can I talk to you a minute?
Yeah, sure. Oh boy.
Kitzmiller.
Yeah, that's it.
You and Elaine are pretty close.
Oh, we go back a ways.
And you've, how do I put this? You've been in her bed.
That's right.
But this isn't still going on.
No. She put a stop to that.
That's all I needed to know. So, you actually swim in this thing?
Oh, yeah. Exercises every muscle in the body. It's great for the back.
Great for the back. Right.
4 hours in this jump and I'm a full inch taller. Giddy up!
Tony, come on. Tony.
Thanks for riding with us. To ensure your safety.
It's a serenade you'll get walking down one of the longest corridors in the city on your way to this, a vaccination center set up inside the part of Penn Station where no fare ticket is required. Along with the great music, if you get vaccinated here, you'll also get a free 7-day unlimited Metro card.
Last Monday, I had to spend in my pocket.
Both the MTA chairman and the interim president of New York City Transit joined Governor Andrew Cuomo to announce the pilot program, which will operate at these 8 subway and commuter rail sites from Wednesday through Sunday of this week for 5 hours a day. If you get a vaccination at the Metro North or LIRR stations available, you get 2 one-way tickets, free.
If I'm safe, I'll do it.
It's part of a larger effort by both the state and the city to attract more people to vaccines by providing more incentives.
Tune in on Monday, there's a lot more coming.
That was Mayor Bill de Blasio's promise on Friday, to do this.
So today we announce incentives.
On the list, he said, free tickets to the Botanical and Botanic Gardens, the Aquarium, the Bronx Zoo, Public Theater, Lincoln Center, the New York City Football Club, and more for people who get vaccinated at city sites. Which ones and how to get which tickets? That's where the mayor didn't deliver in full.
You're going to hear about these exciting incentives and more over the coming days.
But this much is clear. The city continues to open up with more than 50 libraries, including this one in central Harlem and in all 5 boroughs, opening for the first time since the pandemic began for browsing your favorite books. And the more vaccinations, the more opening up occurs, say city and state leaders.
And the state leader, Governor Cuomo, today said that SUNY and CUNY students will be required to be vaccinated in order to go in person in the fall. That's where there's not an incentive. He's saying that's required. As for incentives, let's take a look here. Look at that 7-day unlimited pass. $33. That's a $33 value for free if you get vaccinated here in Penn Station or at the 7 other MTA sites. One last note, the governor said he is suspending residency requirements. So anyone can come in and get that vaccine for free and get that $33 unlimited Metro card.
Well, if I were to just write it on Facebook, nobody would notice it. And my job is to have company teams leading some 1,000 sheep from A to B. And I have noticed how enthusiastically the sheep are received and that it simply reaches people deep inside, which is perhaps not possible rationally with rational argument.
What's going on? I told my chiropractor how great swimming in the river made my back feel. He recommended it to all his patients.
Step aside.
He just sunk like a stone, didn't he?
Hey! Now watch where you kick it! You people find your own river! Ow! Ow! Jeez!
Sir.
Elaine!
Hi! I am loving this! Hey, I'll meet you at the coffee shop.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We've now passed 7 billion on this planet. When I was born, it was a little over 2. Food prices are rising, oil is ending. When our resources end in 20 years, given everything that we know of our species, do you really think we're going to just share?
So your answer to that is some kind of genocide?
No, it is not. It is not genocide. Our answer to this is Janus. Janus consists of a protein and an amino acid. Independently of each other, they're harmless. But when they're brought together in the subject, they act as a genetic trigger that prevents chromosomal division. The cell targeted can no longer replicate itself and is thereby rendered useless. The change is permanent and hereditary.
And which cells are targeted?
Those that control fertility, Becky. The purpose of Janus is to sterilize. The purpose of Janus is to sterilize the entire human race.
The world of medicine has seen its share of miracle cures, from the polio vaccine to heart transplants, but all past achievements may pale in comparison to the work of Dr. Alice Crippen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Not at all.
So, Dr. Crippen, give it to me in a nutshell.
Well, the premise is quite simple. Take something designed by nature and reprogram it to make it work for the body rather than against it.
You're talking about a virus?
Indeed, yes, in this case, the measles virus, which has been engineered at a genetic level to be helpful rather than harmful. And I find the best way to describe it is if you can imagine your body as a highway and you picture the virus as a very fast car being driven by a very bad man, imagine the damage that car could cause. But then if you replace that man with a cop, the picture changes, and that's essentially what we've done.
How many people have you treated so far?
Well, we've had 10,009 clinical trials in humans so far.
And how many are cancer-free?
10,009.
So you have actually cured cancer?
Yes, yes. Yes, we have.
Try not to understand, because it is impossible.
It's going to get more and more overtly occult as these things develop. I mean, Burning Man's totally in-your-face occult. I mean, that's just flat out, we're witches, we're here, we're New Age, we're here to work witchcraft. We're gathering together because there's more power. You know, this has been almost like programming that's been put into humanity's mind for a long time. Now it's more of a manifestation of this. This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading. The amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.